Welcome, this is the tutorial for the ExcelTCA practice test. I will show you the skills you need to know to complete the task for this portion of the TCA. This tutorial is made in the 2016 version of Microsoft on a Mac, but the skills shown are done on a PC and in other versions of Microsoft in a similar way. Since I've already copy and pasted my text, the first thing I'm going to do is change the font size and the font of my data. To do that, I highlight my data, and then I come up here to the font. I'm going to change it to be Courier New, and I can search through it by scrolling, or I can just type it in. I prefer just to type it in. I need this to be a bit bigger, so I come over to the font size, click down, and I'm going to click the size that I need. Next, I'm going to make a title by merging across the columns. So in Excel, these are your columns and these are your rows. And this is my title text. So I'm going to highlight across the columns that I need it to be merged across. And I'm going to first change my text. So I'm going to make it a bit bigger. I'm going to bold it. I'm going to change the color by coming over to the font color. I'm going to make it purple. And then I can choose what to do with my cells. So I can merge and center them, or I can merge across. And depending on the test, these are important to do. And then if you mess up, you can always unmerge your cells and do it again. So I just need to merge and center. So I just click that, and voila, it instantly makes these cells one. The next thing I'm going to do is make my headings. I'm going to change my headings, which are here in row 5. So I'm going to highlight my row 5. I'm going to first make these a bit bigger, and then I'm going to center them. Here's my left, center, and right. I'm going to center them, and then I'm going to make sure that they are black, and then I'm going to italicize them. And I'm also going to provide a heading so they kind of stand out more. Background for the headings so they stand out more. And I want it to be yellow. Now you can see, like in the cells, you can't read all of the data, so I need to adjust my column widths. So I come up here in between my columns until I see the double arrow, and then I just double click. This expands or shortens the width of the column to match the longest text that's within the column. This way it looks really nice, and it looks like I highlighted a little too much. So I just come over here, and then I just click no fill, and it puts it back to normal. The next thing I'm going to do is make sure that all my data is in black, because the default for 2016 seems to be dark gray, and I want to make this stand out more so I can read it. Now I'm going to change my date to just show the day and the month. So I'm going to highlight the column of dates, and then I'm going to right click. If I come down here to format cells, under number I can change how my dates appear. I just want it to be the day and the month. Now that that's changed, I need to write some formulas to fill in the rest of the chart. So the first thing I'm going to do is calculate the total cost per item with a formula that I have written myself. And it's very important to pay attention to the instructions, because formulas and functions in the test are different. A formula is usually something you write and calculate yourself, while a function is something that you use that's built in. And I'll show you both of these through the course of this tutorial. So my first one is multiplication, because I need to multiply the quantity of the items times the cost. So to do that, I click on the cell, and then I type in the equal sign. Then I click the cell that I wish to multiply using the star. And then I hit enter, and that calculates the data that I need. Now you notice there's the white X, and then there's a black X. The white X just lets me highlight my cells and tells them to do the same thing. If I come over here to the corner and get the black X and drag down, this tells the cells that I want the same function using the different cells. So see, it goes from C6 to D6 to C7 to D7. So this way I can save time calculating all of my data. The next thing I need to do is find my total cost, and this is where I will use the sum function. So I'm going to click the cell and type the equal sign, and then you can either go through and find the cell function by going under formulas, because there's auto sum, or you can just type it in. I prefer to type it in, because as I type it in, it brings it up in this drop-down list, and I just click it. Then it shows me I can make the range of cells that I want to be added. So now I use the white X to just highlight down my cells to select them. And see, there's my cell selection in the cell. And then I click enter. And now the total is calculated. The next thing I want to do is write my own formula to figure out the ending balance. So I'm going to first click my equal sign, click my starting balance number, and subtract the total cost from that starting balance and hit enter. Now I want this one to stand out more because this is the information I really need. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to change the color, and then I'm going to bold it. So now it stands out. The last formula I need to create is my percentages. So to create this, it's going to be the total cost of each item out of the starting balance. So I type in an equal sign, click my first cell, and I'm going to divide it by the 4,000. And if I left it like this and started dragging it down, it would totally mess up the data because this cell is not locked. So to lock my total cell, since I need that for every formula over here, I'm going to use dollar signs before the letter and the number. Now my settings are right now just a number, and I need this to be a percentage. So if I come up here to the number section, I can, if you expanded, all of these are in the toolbar right here. So I'm going to click the percentage, and I need to format this to be 2 decimal places of a percent in the percentage. So I'm going to increase my decimals using this button. I can also decrease my decimals using the other button. So I increase my decimals, and this is what I need. I hit enter, and then I can drag down the column to have my data be all the same function. See? Beautiful. The next thing I need to do is put borders around my data. So I'm going to first highlight all my data, and then I'm going to come up here to the borders button. In the drop down, it gives me all different options, and I want all borders. But if you notice in the example, I need to have a thicker one. So to get a thicker one, I go back up to the borders button and come down to more borders. Now I'm going to click a thicker one and make sure it outlines it and is on the inside. And then I click OK. There we go. All of my borders are now correct. Alright, so the next thing I need to do is create a bar chart. So to highlight the column cells that I need, I first highlight my first column, then I hold down Command on a Mac, or if I was doing this on a PC, I would hold down Control, and then I'd highlight the second column, and then I release the key on the keyboard. If you hold the key for highlighting both columns, it will totally mess up your data. So make sure you highlight your first column, hold down Command or Control, and then highlight your second column. And then we come up here to the Insert tab and find the Charts section. So here are my different types of charts that I can get. And I want a bar chart that's 3D cluster. So I click that, and there is, I made a mistake with the chart title. So I'm going to delete my chart, and I'm going to make sure that I click the right one, because I highlighted column F instead of column E. Oops. So I just come here, highlight my columns again, holding down the command to highlight the second one. Now I can create the right chart. So I come up here to bar, click 3D cluster bar, and here is my chart. So I'm going to sit this under my data, but I need to make some changes. I have to add two chart elements, so I come up here to the Add Chart Element button in the top corner. Drop down, and the first thing I need to do is add data labels. So I come over here to More Data Label Options, and I just need the value. See how they've appeared in the chart? Now the next thing I need is a legend. So I come up here under the Chart Design tab, and I'm going to stick my legend off to the right. Now I'm going to change the text in the chart to be a different font from its original font. So I'm going to come to the Home tab. I'm going to individually click each part of the chart and change it to the font I need, which is, for my purposes, the Arial font. So you just click and make sure everything's highlighted, and then you can use under Recent Fonts the font that you need to find. And down at the bottom, for this access, sometimes you have to click a couple times to get it to highlight, and that's totally fine. Eventually it will. I'm going to bold my title so it stands out a little more, and there we go. There's my chart. And that is this tutorial. There will be one additional item on the TCA that you will have to use that you may not know, or a couple that you may not know, but that's why you're allowed to use Google and other resources to figure it out. Anyway, good luck!